Hi, and welcome to That's So Nova. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we're going to be doing the Oriana crossbody bag from Bagstock Designs. It's a cute little bag that has a kind of like a moon shape. It's not quite circle because it has a flat bottom, and it has a nice finish where we're going to be binding. So the skill level for this is posted as intermediate, but I do believe beginning all the way to anybody that's passionate about sewing can make this bag. So let's begin with a step-by-step tutorial. Okay, so in the beginning of this pattern, there's quite a few pages that you're going to get the anatomy of the bag. You're going to get a cut chart. You're going to get tags to place on your bags so you won't mix up the pieces, as well as there's going to be on page 6 information referencing to interfacing and stabilization of the bag. And because the bag is you either make it with fleece and or Decaville Light, it is going to be a soft, pliable bag. So I'm using actually Bouncy Firm in place of fleece, and I just really love Bouncy Firm, so I have a tendency of using it a lot. So let's get started. We're going to make the front slip pocket. So with the front slip pocket, you're going to need pattern pieces B, left and right. And you're going to need pattern piece C, exterior front pocket middle. We're going to be using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance at this point. Be cognizant there is different seam allowances within the pattern, and just be careful of it. I will tell you the seam allowances when they do change. So we're going to put this together. We're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. I'm using 70 weight Amon thread. And what we're going to do is we're going to trim. I preferably like to take and trim the part of the exterior down to 1/8 of the inch, and the other one I'll leave the same, so that way there is not just like a bulk. We're going to finger press this, and we're going to top stitch it using 1/8 of an inch. And just keep trimming those threads. Okay, and we're going to do the same on the other side. I'm just trimming any extra interfacing I had. 3/8 of an inch. And we're going to trim. I did interface my water resistant canvas because it wasn't as thick as the vinyl, and I wanted to make sure that they had the same stabilization. All right, we're gonna come down here. We're going to make a marking. We're going to find our centers, and we're going to measure down 1 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to use some chalk, and I'm going to be using I'm going to be installing a female magnet that's riveted. So I'm going to get the rivet post. And try to separate this magnet. These magnets sometimes are so strong. And of course, you know, when you're filming, that's when they don't want to separate. Let's see. Okay, there we go. if it just wants to separate, I'm going to remove this and I'm going to punch a hole in where I placed that mark. I'm going to put the female part right here, put the cap on the back, and then I'm going to rivet it in place. And what I like about the riveted magnets is that you don't really have to put any tape on the back because it is flat. So we're going to now grab, we're going to be grabbing pattern piece E, or better yet, the exterior front pocket slip. And we're going to place these right sides together. And we're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. Be careful for shifting because you do have a magnet there. Trim those threads. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some pinking shears and I'm going to paint this little crescent area. I find that it helps lay things a little bit flatter. If you don't have pinking shears, you can do little notches in the curved part. As long as you don't hit through the stitches, you'll be fine. If you accidentally hit through the stitches, just sew an additional 1/8 of an inch right underneath the line you sewed. It'll be a little bit smaller of a pocket, but nobody will notice. Okay, and I am going to put some clips here so I can hold it in place while I am trying to line this up. Okay, and then we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. Because we're going to be binding, I backstitch even my basting stitches or top stitching because it's not going to get trimmed off. So lock in those stitches while you can. Okay, so let's hop on over to page 10. And we're going to put this on our exterior piece A. So while I'm here, I'm going to fold this in half on itself and find my centers and make little V notches. I'm going to do the same thing here. Make a little notch. I'm going to take this and I'm going to clip this around. And we're going to baste this on. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from behind and see if there's any excess, because I had some interfacing that was poking through from one of the pocket things, and I just want to make sure that it's all even and clean. Ooh, it's looking so pretty so far. All right, we're going to grab now our pattern piece F. Pattern piece F, you should have one lining and one exterior. And on the exterior, you should have your interfacing, whether it's Decaville Light or Shape Flex, not Shape Flex, Thermalam fleece or bouncy firm. And you're going to put right sides together. Before I do that, I'm going to be having my pocket on my magnet on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do, because it's not going to be going through the lining, is I am going to do the same thing that the pattern asks you to do. Sew these together, and we're going to flip it, and then we're going to find the perfect placement for the magnet. So 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch really well at the beginning and the end. All right, and I'm going to trim this down where the straight edges are, and then I'm going to get my my pinking shears, and then I'm going to pink where it curves. And again, if you don't have pinking shears, they're not needed. You can just cut little notches to help the curve, or you can just do the normal, you know, like trimming to 1/8 of an inch. I just noticed that when I have bulk, if I trim it with pinking things, it spreads out the bulk, and it's just a little easier to lay flat. Okay, and I'm going to go get a turning tool and help me define the creases and the seams. Beautiful. All right, that's top stitches at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, let's trim off this, and then let's find our centers. So I'm going to do a notch on the top, but on the bottom, I'm going to use my chalk pencil. And I'm going to find my center and just draw there. And I just want to faux clip this, and I want to see where you could press down on here and you can see where your magnet is at. This will give you a better fit. There is a measurement where you can measure 1 inch up, which is exactly where this needs to be. I'm going to take this now and punch a hole. I'm going to add the mel. And I'm going to add the cap. Change out my dye. And I am going to now machine baste this on the top so it can be together. Make sure your notches line up. Okay. And I can use a baby wipe or just some water when I'm done with this to wipe off any excess chalk. So we have the front panel done. It looks really exquisite. You can put a turn lock, a flip lock, a twist lock, so many different things. A regular magnet that doesn't have rivets, the whole 9 yards. All right, so let's put this aside for right now, and we're going to start working on the back panel. You want to grab your pattern piece. You want to get the zipper pocket pattern piece, which is I. And you want pattern piece. I thought I had it. Interesting. All right, I'm going to pause and hop back on. Sorry about that. We're going to grab pattern piece H, and you're going to want to grab your zipper tape that is exactly 8 inches. So let me go ahead and just measure that real quick. All right, we're going to want to put our zipper pull on. Okay, and then we're going to grab our zipper bag tabs that are pattern piece J. We're going to have one on the lining. Sorry, that's my puppy. Whenever I'm filming, I swear he loves to rough around this ball that he likes to do right by the vents. So we're going to put the lining piece right sides to the wrong sides of the zipper tape and right sides of the exterior to the right sides of the zipper tape. We're going to sew these together at 3/8 of an inch. We're going to back stitch, and we're going to do the same. Now, before I top stitch, this area could be will help with your seam allowance. Sometimes I just trim a little bit of the exterior piece only, so that way down to 1/8 of an inch to help reduce any bulk that could be throughout the bag. So we're going to tug these, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. All right, so we're going to want to find our centers. So I'm going to clip these together and use chalk to draw my centers out. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to find the centers and snip. Okay, and I'm going to do these right sides facing I want my zipper to close to the left, so I have my zipper tape facing that, and I'm going to clip and place the zipper tape. I'm going to base this on using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. When I get to the zipper, I'm just going to move it out of the way. Okay. And then we're going to get to the lining part, which is on page 14. We're going to do right sides touching. What I found to be a little bit easier is to find my center here too. So I'm going to do center to center and then just a couple clips, because the lining is a little bit bigger and it just helps a little bit more. And we're going to sew this down using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm halfway there, so I'm just going to put my needle down, move the zipper pull to the other side, and finish it. Okay. Trim those threads. And then we're going to pull this down. Zip this up so I can get some kind of leverage. And then we're going to top stitch using 1/8 of an inch. Tab to tab. Okay, trimming those threads. Then we're going to put this on. We're going to take this, fold this up to that top part of the zipper, and then we're just going to baste that on using 1/8 of an inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down from that tab, and I'm going to continue to baste this all the way to the side where the pocket ends. So as you can see right here, there is excess. Now I can cut that because I basted the pocket shut. Don't go all the way around because this is about a 1/2 inch shorter than the exterior. But I'm going to do it again on this side so you can see. I'm going to go from where this pocket is, where I can see the excess, and I'm going to baste it on 1/8 of an inch. All the way up, making sure everything's nice and sealed. And now I'm going to trim that excess pocket off. And when you open up the zipper, you have like nice and neat. Then we're going to find our centers here, and I'm going to mark where finding the center is like key for this bag, or pretty much any bag if you ever really think about it. Centers help making sure everything is nice and even. So I'm going to find my center here, and I'm going to find my center here. I'm going to open up my zipper, and I'm going to sew 3/8 of an inch. Now you're going to have some excess on the sides, and we're going to handle that as soon as we finish putting on this top part. Okay, I'm right halfway there. I'm going to needle down, move my zipper. All right. And we're going to not machine base, top stitch 1/8 of an inch on the top. Okay, you're like, hey, Shanova, it's not looking like a circle. And that's because we just need to connect these two pieces right here when you see it, and then you can just trim it. Or you can use the pattern piece, but you can clearly see where it needs to be trimmed. I'm just connecting those two little lines. And now we have our perfect moon shape. And it should be the same exact size as this. And again, make sure you have your centers marked. It will help you tremendously in the end. And just, you could fold it because it's very soft and pliable, so you're going to be okay. Just making sure those centers are exactly where they're supposed to be. Okay. If you hear barking, I'm sorry. I think I have packages coming in. The dogs are not having it. All right. So we trimmed everything up. And now we're going to be going into the pocket for the lining. One thing I really love about the lining fabrics on here is the linings where you put your interfacing. And it's been a long time since I did that. It gives a really nice structure for the inside, so you won't have a droopy bag. None of that. So we're going to grab one of our lining pieces, and then we're going to grab our credit card slot piece. I'm using water resistant canvas, so I did not use stabilizer on the back. But let's go into it. So first you need to find out if your fabric's direction, like mine is, I'm going to have a top. You need to mark that area with like a T so you can keep that in mind. On the right side of your fabric, there are 3 lines that are on figure 1 on page 16. That gives you 3 different measurements. You need to mark those. I did mine with chalk. And then on the back, there are 3 lines. And I did that with a number 2 pencil. So what I do, there is a Instagram where you can see the designer put the pockets together. What I did is I creased this with my fingers, all the lines on the back, the 3 lines, and then I turn around and I creased the inside with all the lines. Once you do that, it kind of goes like an accordion. So you want to match the first line. The first line is going to be bent in, and this first line on the exterior automatically wants to go up, and then you press it. And it's the same thing. This part wants to bend up, and it will match the line on the exterior. As you can see, here's the 3 lines on the back, and you can't see the white one because it's full of, the chalk is off. So once you have your exterior all put together, again, it's like an accordion. It's really simple. It looks more complex than what it is. And mine's, as you can see, I ironed the heck out of it. So it's just like going back. Then you would top stitch each part if you want. I have sometimes I like to top stitch and sometimes I don't. It all depends on how I'm feeling. So what you want to do at this point is you want to make sure that your pockets are the same height. Once you have it the same height, you're going to stitch down that one side to baste it. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that it is the same height. If it's not, then this is where I start messing with the pockets a little bit more just to make sure that everything lines up. Okay. Once we do that, we're going to want to find our center. You can do measurements. I don't know. Centers always work out for me. I use chalk. And then I'm just going to connect the lines. And I'm going to sew down the center so that way I can have 8 credit card slots. Okay. So on the back of the, when you were prepping, she advised to draw on the top part, you need to draw 3/4 of an inch. Line on the top, because we're going to use double-sided tape to fold that back on itself. And we need to do that also on the backing. So I'm going to draw a 3/4 of an inch line, because it needs to fold over on itself by 3/8 of an inch. So I've never had where all my double-sided tape just like disappeared before. But sure, we can figure something out. I'm like, where's all my double-sided tape? Okay. See? We're gonna remove the double-sided tape and fold it to the line. This is going to give it a very clean finish. Especially if you're working like water-resistant canvas like I am. Water-resistant canvas has a tendency to fraying real easily. So having finishes like this help. Where I'm going to draw real quick a 3/8 of an inch lines. So that way I know when to pivot. Because we're going to do a box. We'll actually sew like a U. And we're going to finish it off like that. So we're going to put these together. So I'm lining them up. And then we're going to sew them together at 3/8 of an inch. And put your needle down and pivot when you get right at that line where you're about to turn. And we're going to pivot and do it again. Back stitching really well at the beginning and the end. then my scissors just disappear. That's about right. That's about right. Okay. Only to me. So I'm going to cut at an angle in the corner so that way I can try to get a nice clean finish. And I'm going to trim these down to about 1/8 of an inch. I'm sorry, my dogs. Let's see. And we have a very beautiful finish here, and I'm going to get a tool to help. This is a bone folder, and I'm going to use it to kind of carve out these corners a little bit nicer. All right, and then we're going to put these two together and top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and then we're going to grab a piece of our lining, and we're going to do some measurements. So again, really mark your centers. They can help tremendously. And then let me get my ruler, and we're going to measure 3 1/4 of an inch down. I'm going to do 3 inches. And I'm just going to do a light chalk line so that way I'm able to see. I'm a visual person, so it's easier for me to line up, okay, the centers right there. I can line up the center of my stitching and have everything nice and neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little fun tag right there too. And you could pin this in place or put some double-sided tape on the bottom. But because I drew a line, it's easy for me to look at it and focus. So I'm going to go at an angle first, like a small right angle, and then stop, back stitch off the slip pocket card slot, and then go forward 1/8 of an inch. And go 1/8 of an inch across. And do the same thing. I'm going to go up and then back stitch off, and then go down a couple stitches, and then go at a right angle again. This is in lieu of rivets. You can put rivets. I just like having those reinforcement stitches. And we have a beautiful credit card pocket that's also a slip pocket. All right. Then we're going to hop on over to page 20, and we're going to do some machine basting. So the front pocket, we're going to want to have the lining that's blank, and we're going to machine baste this all the way around. Okay. Any excess that pokes out, just trim it up a little bit so it doesn't become part of your seam allowance. So we have one piece done. And then we're going to take the back of this and put it together with this. And machine baste it. All right, we're almost there, guys. We're going to put together the gusset, and we're going to be good to go. We're going to grab our connector, And I have a piece of electrical tape. It's thin enough to work for, thin enough to help make this not stretch. And it's just one of my favorite, it's one of my favorite materials to use in connectors because it like has 0 to no bulk. I also like to use cross grain ribbon. I usually get the ribbon cheap on sale like after a holiday, and they have those ribbons out. They work just as well, and they're cheap and they work just wonderful. So we're going to fold this on half on each other, have them bump, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch on the long side, and then just hop on over on the short side and do it again. All right. Okay, we're going to split this in half. And we're going to grab some D-rings. You can use rectangle rings, O-rings, whatever you have. And then I'm going to make a measurement of a 1/2 inch on one side. And then I'm just going to feed it through and place a clip. Feed it through and place a clip. And we're done with the connectors for right now. We're going to now grab our panels, our crossbody main zipper panels, and we have our exterior and our interior. I'm going to do some double-sided tape on the lining piece. This is where our seam allowance will be changing, so just be cognizant of that. Okay, you could put your zipper pulls on now, or you do it if you're confident of doing it later. You could do it later, because I'm a person that likes to put my zipper pulls on after I create my pocket piece, so that way I have like one less thing I have to worry about. And my zipper pull, my zipper tape is a little bit longer than required. Because I like to have a little excess hanging out. Because sometimes I've had it before where I turned a bag and then my zipper pull pulled out. So I'm a little cautious about that. Finding my centers on my lining pieces. Okay, and then we're going to have this line up. Okay, we're going to put one of our exterior pieces right on top, and we're going to stitch at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, not 3/8 of an inch, 1/4. Okay. And then I like to do this from the lining side. I like to pull the lining and baste it down on the opposite end. You have to baste it closed anyway, so it just makes this a little bit easier to do, and I won't have to fight my lining when I'm top stitching, so it won't curl into the seam allowance and making it harder to open and close the zipper. Now I'm going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Oops, it would help if I would have held my threads. Let's see. Sorry, my lever is like old and creaky too. I need to add some oil on it. It's sounding like a car winding down. Trimming those threads. All right, and we're going to do this on the other side now. Okay, and then we're going to put this right sides together and sew at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, we're going to take this and we're going to baste the lining and the exterior together. And I just do it from the lining side so I can tug and make sure everything lines up. Okay, and make sure you trim all those rogue threads. And then now we're going to top stitch here at 1/8 of an inch. Okay. All right, I'm going to get my zipper pulls. And put them on. Put the zipper pull on this one. Make sure pull goes on nice and easy. Great. Now we're going to take our connectors, and where that line is, you're going to have it on one end, and this is where you're going to baste it on. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Okay. We're going to grab our zipper panel lining and exterior, the gusset. I mean, not our zipper panel, our bottom gusset. And I'm going to take the exterior and line it up together, making sure that my hardware is right here. Then I'm going to do the right side of the lining to the right side of the lining, zipper panel, and I'm going to sew at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Hold on, the zipper got all, the thread got all wonky. Okay, oops. Now we're going to do this again. 3/8 of an inch, back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then when I get to the zipper, when I get to the connector, I like to do a back stitch for the okay. And to help with reduced bulk, what I like to do is I like to trim like a right angle, but not hitting the line of row of stitching, but it helps remove bulk in that area. So when we're binding, it can just help alleviate that area. And now I'm going to top stitch. First, hold on, let me get. Sorry, I noticed that the line, the stitching line wasn't really straight, so I wanted to fix that. Yeah, I need to remove the stitching on that. See what I did? I accidentally brought up because I didn't hold down the lining well enough. It happens. But I can easily not replace, but easily fix it if I pull out the threads and resew it. Go in the same holes I went through on my vinyl, and then water resistant canvas is very forgiving, almost like cotton. I'm just removing the stitches. I'm not loving this thread today. This doesn't feel like the normal Amon. It feels more nylon and not polyester. Okay. I think I got it all. There we go. So now I'm going to make sure this is nice and tight down and then re-stitch at 1/8 of an inch. There we go. That's so much better. Do it again. Making sure the hardware is towards the inside of the bag. 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and then we're going to machine top stitch. I'm just going to make sure that the lining's nice and taut. Okay, and we're going to base stitch the bottom gusset close. I usually like to sew with if I'm using water resistant canvas, with whatever the more structured one is. In this case, the water resistant canvas is always a little bit of stretch the vinyl. I like to sew with that side up, so that way the vinyl doesn't stretch too much. Because whatever crinkles or wrinkles you get on the basting stitch, you're going to probably most likely get on the outside of your bag. So just keep that in mind when you're sewing it. The other side. Okay, trimming. All right, and we're going to want to find our centers. And just put here. I'm just putting little snips. And we want to put a rivet through the center. I'm going to go through the lining. My fabrics are really thin, so I sometimes like when there's a rivet that goes through and through it. I don't know. I like the way it looks. It's all personal preference. There's like no right or wrong way to like something. It's all about your aesthetic and what you like on a bag. So I'm going to change out my press dies from the magnets to now the rivets. And I'm going to add a rivet. Because I have thinner material, I can get away with a 1/4 of an inch magnet versus, or a 5/16, or there's 5/16, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, or so many different ones. Let me grab a different rivet head. Okay, one rivet down, and let's do the other one. I'm just eyeballing the center. And I'm going to get a male and female rivet, and then machine rivet it in place, and we have that. All right, so now let's grab one of our pieces. I'm going to grab the exterior, and I'm going to turn the gusset right sides out, and then I'm going to grab quite a few clips. I am not a stapler, I'm a clipper. And this is really soft, so if you haven't given just clipping it in place a shot, this is actually the bag to try it. Because it's very pliable. It's not very structured. It's a little bit more softer. And we're just going around, clipping. All right, so now we're going to machine baste this in place. You can use a 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch or scant 1/4 of an inch. It's really your discretion. Okay, and you can use a stiletto, whatever helps you keep all the raw edges together. Okay, so I'm going to trim these threads, and I'm going to grab a binding piece. I'm using water-resistant canvas, and I like to bind from the top. We're going to fold in on itself about a 1/2 inch. And we're going to sew at 3/8 of an inch. If you're using water-resistant canvas, you can snip into the curves if it's not working. One of the reasons why I like using water-resistant canvas is because it's a little bit more flexible than waterproof canvas. I'm getting you all discombobulated with all my gibberish. I used to not like water-resistant canvas, and now it's like one of my favorite fabrics in my sewing world. Okay, now we're getting closer to where this connects. We're going to sew over this by a 1/2 inch where the fold is and backstitch. What I like to do then is trim all my threads and then trim this up to where I did my stitch, and it's folded nicely over. So now I'm going to clean up any extra threads, and I'm going to start flipping this over. So what you want to do is you want to fold this onto itself and over the last stitch line you made, and clip. So all the raw edges should be encased in okay, and we're going to sew this down at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to grab my stiletto and hold down the areas that I don't want my fingers to get smashed in. Oh, and trust me, it happens to me a lot. There's like lives of me accidentally sewing my finger. I'm quite clumsy. Okay, I'm going to trim threads and any area I can't trim too well, I'm going to singe. I'm going to actually singe these pockets while I'm there too. And like you can see, if you birthed it real quick, you can see how whole it's coming out. So we're going to now do the other side. And we're going to grab the right side, trimming these threads. I promise you, I feel like I say trim these threads and nothing ever gets trimmed right. And this is a beautiful thick gusset. I didn't have to, you know, noticing I'm not easing anything in. If you're using stiffer fabric, you might have to do little snips, and that's okay, but it's a good gusset. All right. Gonna baste this together. Okay. Just making sure all raw edges are together. Turn it around, make sure everything was enclosed. Because you know what happens. Sometimes things can shift and you don't see. I'm going to grab my other water resistant canvas. Take the wrong side and fold it over so you can see one half inch of the right side. We're going to start sewing at 3/8 of an inch. Okay. And then we're just going to trim any threads, and then we're just going to get this nice and taut. Fold it onto itself and over. So no raw edges. You can use double fold over bias. A 1/2 inch one is recommended, I believe. I cut out a 2 inch, but I think I should have actually cut 1 3/4 of an inch because it is a little, it's not thick material, but it's all depending on the material you use. The vinyl I used today was Mora. Mora is a very thin vinyl. Okay. All right, so now we're going to sew this up at 3/8 of an inch. Oh, let's see. Make sure you back stitch well. And I'm going to use, like I said, a stiletto in the places I don't want my fingers to be. And you can see I'm feeding the bag into the machine because I don't have a free arm on this one. So it just makes life a little bit easier. If you do have a free arm, bust it out, people. If not, it's not that big of a hassle because, again, it's not super structured. It's a little bit more pliable. All right, trim those threads. Let's see. And then we're going to open this up and we're going to berth it. And like I said, because I use the fleece, it's a little easier to flip right side out. I'm going to poke out those curves. Shake them out a little bit too. Do the same thing here. Just shake them out a little bit. Stuff it with a warm towel when you're done to give it its final shape. Take your time with this part. A lot of people just like, oh, it's done. If you play around with it, you can get a really beautiful shape. So pretty. All right, let's make the last thing. We're going to make the strap. I'm using one piece of vinyl that's 54 inches. And I'm going to be leaving roughly a 1/8 of an inch gap in between so that way it could fold over really nicely. Okay, and then we're going to baste down the long inch, not baste, top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Oh, I need more bobbin. Well, we almost had bobbin chicken down. Okay. Put a new bobbin case in there. Move all these clips. I have like a bazillion clips in the way. And I'm going to go back to about 2 stitches prior to me running out of bobbin and back stitch. Now I'm going to hop over on the short end a few stitches, and I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch down the other side. I kind of let it fly. Keeping my fingers position so that way it can feed evenly. And then when it gets to the bottom, just slow down and back stitch. We're going to remove these excess threads. Okay, we're going to grab a slider, and we're going to feed it through one side. Sorry, I got to get 2 rivets. I totally forgot that too. We need, let me grab some rivets real quick. Okay, so you're going to grab your slider. You're going to feed it up and over the bar. And then you're going to, I leave like about a 3/4 of an inch tail, especially if I want to put hardware like on the back, but I just usually do it. Then I'm going to punch a hole, grab a rivet, and you're going to need 1 female, 1 male. You don't have to rivet it in place. You also can sew it. I like the look of the rivets. And with vinyl, it's just less perforation, and with 1 hole versus several holes for stitching. Okay, so we have 1. So now what I'm going to do is going to take this. I'm going to make sure that this is all even, and it's sorry, I'm trying to trim this up, and make sure this is all even and that the strap isn't twisted. I'm going to feed 1 swivel hook through. Once I do that, I'm going to have the open end go up and over again. And you can see when I go like this, there is 1 swivel hook, and we're about to add the second one up. And we're going to flip it up over itself. And you want it to all go like the same way. Punch a hole. And get 1 rivet. I'm using the small size. I think it's 8 millimeters by 6 millimeters. And that is it. You're done with your Oriana. You have a beautiful bag that I need to clear off all this chalk off of, and you can just connect your swivel hooks and you're ready to go. If you have any questions about this bag, please leave a comment down below. If you would like to know more, if you would like to see more of the Bagstock bags I've created, there is a playlist, as well as if you want to learn anything more about my my platform, my Patreon platform, there'll be links in the information in the bio. There'll be links to where you can purchase this pattern, no affiliation. If you're like, hey Shnova, I really appreciate you walking me through this and I want to buy you a cup of coffee, I'll put my Ko-fi information in the bottom of the description as well. So I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I can't wait to sew with you next time. Bye bye.